good. Thank you.
Could you briefly introduce yourself to our audience, please?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Avril. I'm a contributor to Neutron, which is a cross-chain smart contracting platform that is also secured by the Cosmos Hub and the largest blockchain in the Cosmos ecosystem. And we're trying to essentially bring Cosmos and its technology to market and really build a DeFi ecosystem, which, to get people excited about Cosmos tech, I guess.
Thank you.
Sure.
Next one is like a ice-breaking question. So, what was the first coin that you bought? When was it, and why did you buy it? Do you remember your first coin?
Yeah, I actually remember it pretty clearly. I was in my high school cafeteria, and I bought Bitcoin on Coinbase. And the reason why I did that was I had been studying a lot about financial crisis and stuff, and I didn't trust the banks so much, and I was like, ooh, Bitcoin is so cool. It's a technology that allows us to transfer value between people without anonymously and without intermediaries. And of course, the anonymous part has changed in perception now, but yeah, that's the initial thought that brought me to crypto.
Great. Okay. Next question is about Neutron. So, can you briefly introduce Neutron to our audience, please?
Yeah, for sure. So Neutron is a CosmWasm smart contract platform. It has a few major differences. The first one is that it's very tightly correlated to the Cosmos Hub, which is the largest, most valuable blockchain in the ecosystem. And that means that it sort of starts with this tight alignment to an existing strong community and to this huge pool of value, which should help bootstrap a more successful DeFi ecosystem. And Neutron itself actually comes packaged with a lot of infrastructure that allows it to serve the needs of the ecosystem a lot more than other smart contracts platforms typically do. E.g., the platform launched with interchain queries, which allow smart contracts to retrieve data from other chains. You could see them as replacing oracles for certain use cases, because I can just literally read another blockchain at a distance. Interchain transactions, which are a way for smart contracts on Neutron to essentially control accounts, execute transactions, hold assets, do callbacks and complex sequences of actions on other blockchains as well, which essentially allows you to do a cross-chain dApp without having to maintain multiple sets of contracts. You just maintain one on Neutron, and that can interact anywhere IBC is deployed. And we're working on expanding this, so we're considering bringing an oracle into the chain itself, so that all DeFi dApps have access to very robust price feeds. We're considering bringing a DEX into the base layer, so that they have this shared infrastructure for exchanging value that can be very deeply integrated with MEV and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you.
For sure.
Next question. So, how is Neutron benefiting from launch as the first Interchain Security consumer chain?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess there's a few elements, right? The first one obviously is that so replicated security allows one blockchain to secure another with its entire stake and its entire validator set. And so that allowed Neutron to bootstrap and start. The first block on Neutron had the security, and still today it has the security of a top 10 blockchain by stake value, so a top 10 proof of stake chain. And so that means that applications can have the confidence that their applications are going to remain secure and that kind of stuff. So security is a big one. The second one is that, as I said, it creates this very tight alignment between the Cosmos Hub and Neutron, and that is useful in many ways. First, it arguably has been pioneering this technology and bringing it to market has been something that has I think been good for the hub, but also been good for Neutron and creating mindshare and interest in the project, and it creates this very closely aligned communities that help bootstrap so. That's it.
Thank you.
For sure.
Astroport and Neutron both alive. So, what are some next exciting dApps coming up on Neutron?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Actually, Mars is launching tomorrow. So Mars is a lending borrowing platform. Lido on Cosmos is being worked on. Assuming that the Lido DAO approves it via governance proposal, then that should be another pretty exciting one. There's a proposal in the forum right now to build the Interchain allocator, which is not really a consumer-facing product, but is super exciting in that it should be a big part of So, like releasing liquidity into the ecosystem and allowing DAOs to actually be participants in the DeFi ecosystem. And then there's there's a bunch of other things like Amulet is doing like fixed rate lending, Apollo is doing like auto compounding vaults and other strategies. Astroport itself is moving into like a liquidity management sort of like strategy and such. And so all of these things coupled together are pretty exciting. We also have like a few NFT marketplaces that are considering launching on Neutron. I think Craft is pretty close to getting ready and stuff. So yeah,
Really excited.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Looks like Lido will be a part of Neutron ecosystem. So how does Neutron plan on integrating Lido?
How does Lido integrate like Neutron, right? So like basically Lido is working on a set of smart contracts that will leverage the infrastructure that Neutron provides in order to do liquid staking across the entire Cosmos, right?
Right. Okay.
And so they're using the specificities of the platform to build their business in a model that is like a lot more scalable, essentially. And I think it's really exciting because like currently in Cosmos, like one of the things we've been talking about and I talked about here at Nebular today is that like one of the main problems in the ecosystem is like the lack of liquidity, or even more precisely, like it's the lack of a market that is exciting enough to intrinsically motivate people to come and build applications because they know that, hey, I see an opportunity here to provide something new, something valuable, and I'm gonna do this and make money because it will be my job essentially, right? And so we need to grow that market, grow that pie a whole lot. And I think like liquid staking is a huge part of that. Essentially, it's like billions of dollars of value that can be released, and so that plays a huge role.
Thank you.
For sure.
Do you have any plans, hackathons in Korea?
Currently, not. We might be attending KBW and the events around this. Yeah, I hope so. It's just like events are tricky because there's always this balance between am I going to be at my computer and work like super hard for 2 weeks, or am I going to a conference to work super hard but like live and then get back to a computer with like a backlog of like 3 weeks of work? So there's a bit of a trade-off and visas and stuff. But yeah, to the extent possible, we're always super happy to go to Korea. We were in KBW last year and it was like absolutely awesome. So anytime I get the chance is kind of the answer.
Okay, thank you. What's Neutron's long-term goal in the Interchain ecosystem? Could you share?
Yeah, so I mean, Neutron essentially wants to be kind of like the glue of the Interchain. E.g., like in the Interchain, we have like, so taking a step back, one of the things that is driving Cosmos as an ecosystem is the vision for app chains, right? The idea that if you own your technological stack, you're able to build applications and products that are better, essentially. And I think that thesis has been proven true to some extent, but I think there's also a misunderstanding that this doesn't mean that everything needs to be a Cosmos SDK app chain, right? It means that there are trade-offs and that part of the trade-off is super powerful, right? And now as a result of this, what we think will happen is that there's going to be more and more super powerful app chains, and that but that they will only be part of the DeFi ecosystem and stuff, right? And so we need to find ways to conveniently bring these things together. And so it makes a lot of sense to have sort of like a DeFi hub in the middle that essentially bring all of these applications together into a nice package and make them like very accessible for the ecosystem as a whole, for the users. And so yeah, what we intend to do for like what we think should be Neutron's goal is to become like the main DeFi smart contracting platform in Cosmos and kind of like the glue of the Interchain. I think that brings it together.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for the interview.
Yeah, for sure. It was my pleasure.